how's it and welcome. Glad to have you here in 2020. This is the Booker Corrigan Show, and we've got a great show lined up for you this week. Got a special guest. I'm going to leave that as a tease just to let you know. We're going to get into some movie stuff, as we always do. We're going to talk about some D1 college lacrosse issues and things that are going on there. We're going to talk with our guest about the Under Armour Underclass event, and then we will get into some good, clean fun. Let's review where we were in 2019. Talked about leadership and how to be a leader. You don't have to be the best player on your team to be a leader. You don't have to be the smartest kid in your class to be a leader. You just have to be willing to step up and give people something to follow. I'm really looking forward to bringing on my guest, but the first thing we have to talk about is being a great teammate. Whenever my kids have a game that I'm unable to attend, I have two questions for them to find out about the game, and I never ask them if they won or if they scored. I ask them, did you have fun with your friends, and were you a good teammate? Now, in my leadership and my step up lessons from previous shows, I defined what that meant. What does it mean to be a good teammate? When you tell kids in athletics today, be a good teammate, that's a little ambiguous. And you know how I like to break things down and say, okay, here's an example. One of your teammates makes a mistake, go stand next to them. Go be next to them so they don't have to stand alone knowing that they just threw the ball in the bleachers, that they just cost their team a goal, that they just did something wrong, or something that people might say, look at them, they just threw the ball in the bleachers. So what? It's just a game. But to have that child, that player, that teammate of yours have to stand by themselves after making that mistake, I think it's very simple for a kid, any kid, to just go be next to that person. You don't have to say anything. They know that they threw the ball in the bleachers. I'm pretty sure they're well aware of that. But you want to be near them so that they're not alone in that mistake. You don't have to say, hey, let's do better next time. You can say something based on how great a relationship you have with that teammate, with that friend, but just don't let them be by themselves. That's one of the things that I really think is important. As we get into the lacrosse season and the games that we're going to be broadcasting, you'll hear me talk about being a great teammate and how important it is and how easy it is to be a great teammate and how that's going to help build lifelong relationships, lifelong friendships, and moments that you can go back to and enjoy being a part of. Let's bring on this week's guest. I tell you what, I know how to hang with players who were way better at playing the sport of lacrosse than I was. Burrell Ace was a two-time All-American at University of Maryland. He was the Defenseman of the Year in Division I lacrosse, all of lacrosse, in 1992. So he's kind of up in my age. Bubba and I coached lacrosse together in 1993. No, there were not wooden sticks in those days, but yes, it was a long, long time ago. He and I strolled the sidelines at McDonough School. The head coach's name was Jake Reed. Unbelievable guy. Built a program that became a championship-level program, and he won multiple championships. But the year Bubba and I coached together, we did not happen to win the championship. And if you want to go back through the 1993 McDonough record book, you'll see that we didn't win the championship. But great guy, great person to have on your thing. And yes, Bubba, we are immediately live. And I am calling him now. Speakerphone. He is off at his office at work. We're going to get some D1 lacrosse info from him. We're going to talk about being a great teammate. And then we're going to get into some fun.
Booker.
Hey, Bubba.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, glad to have you. I was just running down our 1993 coaching experience together. Oh, yeah. The Screaming Eagles.
We got the redemption tour coming up, don't we?
I tell you what, man. We definitely had a great opportunity to help kids become the best possible version of themselves. And that's on the field and off the field. Tell me one of the things. You're coaching at St. Mary's right now. You guys went to the championship game. What is the most rewarding part of coaching for you?
I think the most rewarding part, I mean, obviously everyone wants to win games. That's a big focus. I think the longer you coach, you start to realize there's a little more to it. And I think the most rewarding thing for me is seeing a young man develop from, coming in as a little scrawny freshman that has no idea what he's doing, and all of a sudden he graduates, 4 years later, he heads off to college. He's developed into, just a great kid. They're doing things the right way, and you get to see them even a few years down the road. That's what's rewarding, when you see that you can make a difference in some kids. And, in a lot of cases, it doesn't take a whole lot. There's some great kids, but maybe you just steer them in the right direction here or there. I'll tell you what, you learn a lot from the kids as well. There's no doubt that you look back and I say, man, I can't believe that 16-year-old just taught me a lesson.
Yep, and it's so funny to hear you say that some kids are easier. It doesn't take a whole lot is how I think you phrased it. Some kids, it really does. And those are the ones, anybody can teach a kid who's already going to go to Princeton. I can teach that kid math. The kid that you want to, really help become the best version of themselves is the one who is struggling a little bit. And back to your comments, some kids, it doesn't take a whole lot, but the others, those are the ones that you seek out 5 years, 10 years down the road, and you get that real value of impact with them. And I know that you've done that at St. Mary's. Congratulations on an amazing year last year. You guys certainly pulled off everything you could other than knocking off Calvert Hall, who is the Bull Goose Looney right now.
Yeah, it was a fun year. I had coached a lot of the seniors since they were much younger. So a lot of those kids are the kids I saw grow up, and they went from a tough freshman year and kind of grew each year, and ran into a buzzsaw at the end, but it was fun. The team, really close-knit team that came together, and the X's and O's are one thing, but what you're trying to teach them, you're teaching it in lacrosse, but it's going to affect everything in their life is the discipline, the commitment, the teamwork, the caring for each other, and setting goals, and those are the things that the kids are going to hopefully continue to improve on and use as parents, as workers, as maybe coaches down the road, and be an impact in their community.
Yeah, and as husbands, right? I mean,
Yes.
You've got a great wife. You've also, before I get into that aspect, let's talk about Vic Lilly, the head coach at St. Mary's, and the impact he's had on that program, because he has taken it, quote unquote, to the next level, hasn't he?
Vic's an amazing guy. It's hard to really get into what he does for the program and the school. There's so much. At a smaller school like St. Mary's, Vic wears a lot of hats and he's not a full-time employee of the school. He runs his own business. But from everything he does it's incredible. And he's really, he's been coaching. He was an assistant for 10, 12, 14 years or something. So he's been involved on the coaching staff for probably getting close to 20 years, with this being his 5th year as a head coach. And he's very he adapts well. He has no ego. He has no problem looking himself in the mirror and saying he needs to improve, or we need to improve, or we need to change this or that. And he's willing to learn from the kids, from our administrators, from other coaches. So it's been, me and Vic went to high school together. We've been friends for a long time, but it's been awesome, seeing him grow as a coach the last few years. He's like a different guy right now. Just the confidence level and the commitment has always been there. But I think he's just he gets better and better as time goes on.
Staying in that high school lacrosse swimming pool. The deep end of the pool is the Under Armour All-American Senior Game. I know your son, BJ, just played in that, did a great job. He's now a freshman at Yale. and I'm sure we're going to get into some D1 lacrosse stuff. And I loved talking with you on Tuesday about all that stuff, and we will definitely get our listeners and viewers in on that. But the Under Armour Underclass event has become the premier showcase. Take us a little bit through BJ's experience with playing on the Underclass, all the way from the tryout and the exposure and the showcase, and how it evolved into him being in the senior game.
Yeah, BJ had played, I'm trying to think, the first year he tried out, which would have been going into his, I guess he was a rising junior, I believe. And he made the callback game, and he did not make the final roster. So he was upset about it and a little ticked off. And, for me, it was a good, teaching moment for him. Like, don't sit there and cry about it. Work harder.
Yep.
Don't give him a chance to not take you next year. And I think it fueled him for that next year. One of his goals outside of the St. Mary's team goals was to make that Under Armour team, and that's what he wanted to do. And he worked extremely hard and had a good tryout. Was fortunate to make it. So we did play in that year as team. The Baltimore team did win the tournament, and it was an unbelievable experience for him. From playing for Brian Kelly was the head coach at the time, and we had Brent Heiken and Dave Burrell and myself were helping out. So learning from different coaches, different ways that they teach and communicate was great. One of the things that was it's always kind of funny down in Annapolis. We like to say we like to not like the Baltimore guys. It puts a chip on our shoulder. We always feel like we're kind of getting slighted a little bit. So we've kind of built up what some of these kids are like, and unfortunately, he got to play with them and liked a lot of them. So going back, we had to make up some news stories why he'd be mad at all the Baltimore kids. So but he had a great experience. The talent level was incredible. The team was really a tremendous team. They bonded real well. They played, I don't know how many days. It was 3 or 4 days, and it was an awesome experience.
That is good to hear.
Then I guess the following years, you're kind of, you got your fingers crossed that you hope you get the opportunity to make the senior game, and any of these all-star games, like that. It's tough for evaluators. It's tough for selectors. There's, if they're taking 40 kids for that senior game, they could probably take 140 kids. It's very difficult, but I think they do the best they can. And, he was fortunate enough to, he did have a very strong senior season and got selected for it. And, it was something that, the experience was incredible. He got to play with just an absurd amount of talent, and they were treated like royalty.
Spoiled, a little spoiled.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I think he personally gained a lot from the experience. From, like I said, the disappointment, which fueled him, fueled it a little bit, to being able to play with the kids, and it was a confidence thing after making it as well. Like you're playing with the best in Baltimore, and when they went out and they kicked everyone's butts across all the other regions, and you can see confidence grew in a lot of those kids.
It's interesting to hear you say that he was upset about not making it. It's that motivational kick in the nuts. Every now and then, a kid can really respond to that in a great way, and that's something that as a coach, you want to see that kid get motivated and not go into his shell. You want to see them step forward because of it. So that's great insight. The lesson today, Bubba, and we're on the phone with Burrell Ace, who's an assistant coach at St. Mary's and was also the defenseman of the year in 1992 at University of Maryland, in all of lacrosse best defenseman. He never shut me out, nor did I ever score on him. So we'll just let you all, exactly. We'll let you all figure out how that was possible. Tell me, back in your playing days, do you recall somebody who was just an amazing teammate, somebody who was a great part of the team?
Yeah, definitely. I think we spend a lot more time nowadays talking about leadership and culture and development and character. Where back then, I think the coaches didn't really talk about it much. Some kids were stood up and were leaders, and some weren't. Um, but I had, it was actually my best friend in high school, guy Jamie Dodwell, who we played together. Who's another defenseman, and um, Jamie was that kid that was a very good defenseman. He wound up coming to Maryland. We played together for 4 years at Maryland, but he never really got much of the press clippings or a lot of the notoriety that I did. And it was something he never annoyed him. He just kind of he competed with me and made me better. I made him better. Never once was it, how come, we shut this team out and, Burrell Ace got scored on twice and his name's in the paper and I shut the guy out and not, nothing. So it was something he just worked hard. And, he was always a great influence on the younger guys. It was never about him. It was always about the team. And whether it was taking at Maryland, he didn't play a ton at Maryland, but he took a lot of pride on covering our best, attackman every day in practice and making him work his ass off to get better. And, he's done very well for himself, in the business world and just, someone that looking back on it, I think I was learning a lot from him without even realizing I was at the time.
It's shocking that he would go on and be successful in the business world when he's such a great teammate. It's obviously, the 2 and 2 still makes 4. If you're a great person on the field and a great person off the field, you're going to reach success. Let's get back into the D1 lacrosse. You obviously played at Maryland. Do you have any endearment towards the team this year for University of Maryland in 2020? Do you think they're a Final Four championship weekend type team?
No, absolutely. I think I do think that every year, of course. But I think this year, I think that they should be really good. I think Tills is a phenomenal coach, and he's proven it over a number of years. That their staff's great, and I think just having Bernhard back, he's a kid that can single-handedly take over a game. At some points that kid's unguardable. I think he's an incredible talent, and they got Bubba on the team.
You gotta love
gotta love that, right?
Gotta
Great
love
kid,
Bubba.
Great kid, great player. A little faster than the old Bubba on the
Yeah.
field, but very very solid. And I think across the board they should be good, very good. I think defensively, hopefully some of the younger kids can make an impact. One Paul Maycar is an excellent kid from Yorktown. We played against him in high school a few years ago, and you could tell even at that time that kid was something special.
Love to hear it. Now you get the Terps, UVA, one of your rivals, won their national championship last year. Do you see them making a nice run again?
No, I don't like UVA. I'm not gonna root for UVA.
Fair enough.
No, I think they're the bow ties and all that might get in the way of their run, but no, they obviously they have a ton of talent coming back. They always do. I think last year, I think they had a lot of balls bouncing the right way, getting breaks at the right time.
Hitting pipes that get called goal.
Called a goal. I'm not sure if that luck's gonna fall their way again, but without question, that talent-wise, they're year in year out as good as anyone out there. And obviously, Lars did a great job with that team last year.
On the phone with Brian Burrell Ace, who goes by Bubba, played lacrosse at University of Maryland, loves the Terps. Who doesn't love the Terps, right? I mean, John Tillman, great guy. Lars Tiffany, great guy. Another guy, Andy Shea. Your son, BJ, now a freshman at Yale. What is BJ coming home with or talking to you about or texting you about as far as the Yale Bulldogs this year?
He thinks they should be a good team. I think they're working hard. They got Coach Shea does a phenomenal job building the culture up there. They hold each other accountable on a very high standard, and they have TD Erlin back at the X, and he might be one of the best to ever do it. So I think with him and their the attack unit all back intact, and some of the athletes that they have across the board, they're going to be a tough out. I think they got a great shot at it, and certainly I'll be pulling for them.
And Brandau and Gaudet at attack. I mean, that's certainly a nice little mix. Those guys can fill it up. Any outliers that you see there from any of the other teams? Who do you like? Duke, obviously, they're a championship weekend.
Duke, obviously, Penn State should be extremely good. I think Coach Sambroni's done a nice job up there. And one thing, getting as good as they were last year, then not making it to the championship game, I think that's you can't underestimate the hunger of a disappointing loss like that. So I think that team is should be coming in really, really hungry, and I think Georgetown could surprise some people. I think they got a great coaching staff. One of the guys that coached at St. Mary's, Jake Carraway, is a hell of an attackman that can score a lot of goals. So I think Georgetown could surprise some people, and maybe UMass.
Heard of it, yeah.
Always dangerous, yeah. UMass, yeah. Everyone likes UMass. Right? They're kind of harmless.
Yeah, exactly. Until they beat you, and then you're like, "Well, how the hell? What are you doing?"
Yeah. Theirs are tough. They're always extremely tough, hard-nosed teams, and if you're not ready to play, UMass will knock you around.
And also, their in-conference rival, so to speak, is Towson, who is also a blood and guts type team. Not blood and guts, but more nails and glass for breakfast, and let's go play some lacrosse. I know that they lost a couple guys that I think are going to be interesting holes to try and fill for them, but Towson always does a good job. Now, Bubba, as the host and you're the guest, I don't want to paint you in a corner, but it's something we talked about earlier this week. The difference between the off-season programs of what you went through at Maryland with Coach Adele and what BJ is going through at Yale with Coach Shea. I mean, is it night and day?
You can't compare. I mean, it is absolutely night and day. They are, for the most part, this is pretty much every, I don't even think it's Division I at this point. I think it's across the board in Division II and III as well. It's a full-time job. Those guys are working out, and they're working extremely hard in the weight room, on the field, and skill sessions and individual sessions, and they're watching what they eat, and it's year round. Right? There's really not much of a downtime for any of these guys. Book, I remember, we probably played, 6 weeks maybe in the fall, and then you went and you ate and drank everything in sight, and then after Christmas you ran, you went out and you hit the pavement for a month, and hopefully you lost some of the weight, and you rolled into camp, and you were ready to play that spring, and once that ended, you probably played a couple Heroes games, or you went to Vail or Ocean City. That was about it.
A little summer league. Nothing wrong with putting on
nothing like it was.
Putting on a green or a red T-shirt and playing twice a week. Play the Tuesday, Thursday, summer league.
And it's sometimes I wish that some of these kids could have experienced it. Those summers were fun. It was great. Were we as conditioned or as prime athletically as they are now? No way. But it was a fun time to do it.
Certainly was. Now, we also talk about the fact that we do get into some movie stuff. And, there were some times when you and I were coaching together in 1993 at McDonough. We were kind of like the two guys on the side of the road, and the Hawaiian Tropic bus pulls up, and they ask, we need two guys to come and oil us up before every show, And if we just keep our eyes open, we'll catch our break, right? Two lucky guys are going to be riding around with them for months. Now, tell me, Dumb and Dumber's the movie that you wanted to talk about. Do you have a favorite scene? Because I know I have a couple, that one being one of them, although it's the end of the movie, so you're kind of sad.
Yeah, so I think, after, talking to me a little bit about, there's that year with McDonough, the one thing that jumped out at me as far as that movie was, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to play, Loyola tomorrow, and, we're going to run a zone all game, and we're going to try to stall the ball, and, hopefully all their kids are sick. And, they've been beating everyone by 15 goals, but we have a chance.
But
you're
telling me there's a chance.
And, Jake, obviously, like we're going to a game. Jake said, I think we can get him this game. And me and you and the Wizard are looking at each other like, is he out of his mind? Like,
Yeah.
there's no chance we're going to be in this game.
Yep. I did mention the fact that we coached together, and Jake Reed was the head coach, and he built McDonough into a multi-championship level program, but it took a couple years. But as coaches, it was certainly nice to mingle with the laid-back country folk. I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. I do like it. And there was no sea bass unless you consider every other team in the league was sea bass. And sometimes we didn't get to eat our hamburger, but that was life. That was life.
Hey, our IOUs are as good as money.
And those are as good as money. That's exactly right. Nice Hooters. Yeah. Talking about the Owls. Now, what I want to do is the two of us I'll get in the orange tuxedo, you get in the powder blue tuxedo, and you got to go tell Mary Swanson nice Hooters. And I'll just sit back at the bar and throw out the vibe, right? For you youngsters, every high school kid, you have another son, Colin, who's an amazing player, started all last year for St. Mary's. Does he watch Dumb and Dumber? Does he know the classics out there, or are these kids missing it?
Yeah, they'll watch that. Step Brothers is a big one that they love. But yeah, Dumb and Dumber, sometimes I think they know the lines, but they don't even know where they came from.
Right. Well, they might get that from a favorite play-by-play guy from high school lacrosse. They hear a couple lines.
Yeah. I've said that about you quite often.
Austria. G'day, mate. Let's throw another. That's the opening line. That's the opening scene of the whole movie, if I'm not mistaken. Right? He pulls up to the Austrian woman. So, Bubba, Step Brothers next time, right? And we'll cover more stuff about the Under Armour underclass tryout. But you go to UnderArmourLacrosse.com. Props to Vic Lilly, who's done an amazing job at St. Mary's. It's not like he picked up a program that was just starting or whatever. Chomo and Matt Hogan did a phenomenal job with it as stewards of the program, and now Vic Lilly has put him in a great spot. What's a message that you would give a high school kid today if they're watching the show?
I think I'd tell a lot of the kids, don't get caught up in the social media and the rankings and what everyone is saying about a kid. Just keep working hard, keep developing. Find these coaches that you trust, listen to what they say, and don't worry about the other stuff. It's going to work itself out.
A lot of it always does. Bubba, thanks so much. I love you, and we can't wait for the next time.
All right, Buck. I'll catch up with you soon, buddy.
You got it, man. You got it.
See ya.
Great man, Brian Bubba Burrell Ace. And he was, in fact, the best defenseman in all of lacrosse in 1992. And he's a phenomenal coach. I get the chance to watch enough high school lacrosse to know good from bad or good from average. There's not a lot of bad, but there is some average to above average, and he is certainly one of the good ones. So it's great to have him on the Booker Corrigan Show. But until next time, I'm Booker Corrigan reminding you, you only get one shot at today.